Gama from Gracia. This is the Rorschach, Georgia update for the 19th of December, 2024. Quick summary of what's going down in Georgia. On Saturday, the 14th, Georgia's Electoral Commission, including members of parliament and regional councils, voted for the country's new president. Opposition parties boycotted the election, calling it illegitimate, leaving Mikhail Zurabishvili as the only candidate on the ballot. Zurabishvili, former football or soccer player known for his anti-Western views, revealed in an interview with state TV channel Imedi that Prime Minister Irakli Kobakhidze and Bidzina Ivanishvili, founder of Georgian Dream, or the Kotsebi, offered him the presidency. Though surprised, Zurabishvili said, yeah, sure. On the same day, the Alliance of Liberals and Democrats for Georgia and Liberal International issued a joint statement affirming Salome Zurabishvili as Georgia's legitimate president. They criticized Zurabishvili's election, saying it didn't reflect the will of the people, as only one party participated in the process. Also on Saturday, Amnesty International released a detailed report on the use of excessive force by the police during protests in Georgia after the 29th of November. The report states that peaceful demonstrations where thousands of citizens attended were met with water cannons, tear gas, and rubber bullets. Many people were injured, and videos captured physical violence against peaceful protesters and journalists. Over 460 people have been detained, with many reporting torture and mistreatment. The report highlights that police actions, including illegal force and torture, appear to be encouraged by government directives as well as impunity. The justice system has largely ignored torture cases, leading to fines and administrative imprisonment for over 160 people that were arrested by the police. Amnesty describes these actions as systemic repression and police terror. Full report, link in the show notes. On Friday the 13th, businessman Nika Gvaramia, who's also the former prime minister under the United National Movement, or Natsebi, announced the establishment of a fund to help victims of the recent protest. Aims to aid citizens injured during the demonstrations, journalists who were attacked, and workers who went on strike or left their job in protest. Gilaudi emphasized that the fund will operate transparency with regular reports posted on the Prosperity Georgia website detailing how funds will be used. Just 3 days after establishing the fund, it received 330,000 lari, or about $120,000 US, from over 200 people and businesses. On Thursday, the 12th, 80 journalists and senior editors from the International Press Institute and independent media networks in Central and Eastern Europe and internationally expressed solidarity with Georgian media amid ongoing protests. Statement supports Georgian journalists who continue to provide critical information despite an increasingly hostile environment. The joint declaration highlights the worsening situation for press freedom and democratic freedoms in Georgia, with the situation becoming more dangerous as legal and institutional tools are used to target and restrict critical voices. Up next, according to market research provider IPM, 65% of the population supports the ongoing protests in the country. 61% believe the elections were rigged, and 50% think the policies of the Kotsebi are pro-Russian, which they, of course, are. IPM conducted a phone survey nationwide between the 3rd and 12th of December, interviewing 1,600 citizens aged 18 and older. The study shows that support for protest is especially strong among young people, with 76% of those aged 18 to 34 backing the protest. On Wednesday, the 18th, Georgian President Salome Zurabishvili spoke at the European Parliament. She addressed the political situation in Georgia and the ongoing protests. She described the protest as peaceful civil disobedience demanding fair elections and a European future. She emphasized that the protests are not revolutionary, but a demand for free and fair elections. She rejected allegations saying that Georgia is divided, stating that the real division is between the people and the ruling party's repressive apparatus. Zurabishvili called for more decisive European action to support Georgia's European aspirations. It is really worth reading the speech. It's a great speech. On another note, on Sunday the 15th, Alexei Lobadev, head of Russia's Law Enforcement Trade Union Association, stated on social media that he visited Georgia to observe the situation during the anti-government protest. He shared photos and videos of his visit, lying that most Georgians have a negative opinion about the protest. He praised the Georgian Ministry of Internal Affairs for handling the extreme situation with dignity, by which he means in a Russian style, despite 150 police officers being injured. Lobadev also highlighted that despite the protest, daily life in Tbilisi continued as usual, and Russian-speaking Georgians were more receptive than in the past. He didn't specify what they were more receptive to. The nature of his invitation remains unclear, as it is unknown whether it was from the Ministry of Internal Affairs or a trade union or just his own initiative as a privileged colonial overlord. In other news, everyone can request the position of a business on the current political situation through the website freebusiness.ge, which was launched on Saturday the 14th. The statement on the website says the current political unrest has exceeded the boundaries of party politics and is placing the country in front of inevitable social and economic dangers. According to the statement, for the immediate de-escalation of the situation, the most pragmatic way is to release everyone detained during the 3 weeks of protest by New Year and call for new elections. So far, over 1,000 businesses have shown their support for the statement. Among them are giants McDonald's Georgia, Coca-Cola Bottlers Georgia, and the Georgian telecommunications company Magdicom. Check out the website with a link in the show notes of this fantastic initiative. On Monday the 16th, City Hall briefing, Tbilisi Mayor Kachi Kaladze, with his characteristic mix of bullshit and befuddlement, accused what he called radical opposition groups of trying to disrupt the festive atmosphere in the capital. What a buzzkill. He announced that the Christmas tree lighting ceremony would take place without a formal event. Sad emoji. Unlike previous years, due to security concerns. Christmas tree lighting ceremony was initially scheduled for Saturday the 14th. Despite Kaladze's call for people to show up with their families, only a few of his hardcore supporters turned out, and none of them looked particularly festive. They were soon outnumbered by the pro-democracy, pro-European demonstrators who had been gathering in front of Parliament, where the Christmas tree is, for 3 weeks. The ceremony was postponed, canceled altogether. On Friday the 13th, the European Film Academy called for the immediate release of actor Andro Chichinadze, who was arrested on the 5th of December following his participation in a public protest. The Academy views his detention as part of a broader effort by the Georgian government to suppress peaceful protests and intimidate the public. The Academy expressed concern over the freedom of expression and the safety of artists in Georgia, urges global cultural institutions to advocate for Chichinadze's release. He faces up to 9 years in prison for charges related to organizing and participating in violent events. On Wednesday, the 19th, Alan Berset, the Secretary General of the Council of Europe, who is currently visiting Georgia, met with Bidzina Ivanishvili. Kotzebi confirmed information, but the details of the meeting have not been shared. It seems like despite Ivanishvili's reluctance to remain in the limelight, leaders of European countries and institutions prefer to work with him directly, as shown last week when President Macron called him personally to discuss the ongoing events in Georgia. Earlier, Berset met with civil society representatives, Prime Minister Irakli Kobakhidze, Parliamentary Speaker Saba Papuashvili, and the public defender, Levan Yosseliani. Berset is scheduled to hold meetings with the opposition and civil society representatives before leaving the country. And to close, for over 20 years, the Saba Awards have celebrated Georgia's best books and authors. However, due to political unrest, this year's ceremony was canceled. Organizers expressed hope that future awards will be held in a free, democratic Georgia and showed support for those injured or detained during protests. Instead of the usual ceremony, the funds were redirected to cash prizes for all the finalists. This year's winners include Beso Solomonishvili's Lumpen Millennium and David Kartvelashvili's Megalopolis and Individuals for Best Novel, Aine Merme for Ewara as Best Debut, and Besik Kharagauli, This is Georgia for Best Poetry Collection. And that's it for this week. Thanks for joining us. Did you know that if you're listening to us on Spotify, you can leave comments or questions in the episode? There's a comment box right there. The comments are private by default. We won't publish them. If you want us to get back to you, share your email so we can contact you. We'd love to hear from you. Nach Handis.